Have you ever felt it? The weight of an unearned opinion, the sting of being overlooked, the quiet humiliation of having your presence dismissed as background noise. You speak, but your words evaporate. You act, but your efforts are invisible. You chase the symbols of power, the money, the titles, the possessions, believing they will buy you the one thing you truly crave, respect. But they do not. And in the silence of your own mind, you know this hollow truth. There is a currency that is not traded on any market, a power that is not bestowed by any title. It is a silent force, an invisible architecture that determines who is listened to and who is ignored. It is the law that governs the subtle currents of human interaction, the unspoken language of command. Those who understand this law move through the world differently. Their presence has gravity. Their silence speaks louder than the shouting of others. They do not ask for respect. They are the source of it. We are not here to discuss charisma, body language, or social tricks. Such things are the flimsy scaffolding around an empty building. We are here to lay the foundation. We are here to reveal the one silent law of the self that, once mastered, makes all other efforts unnecessary. This is not knowledge to be consumed. It is a principle to be embodied. It is the source code of a mind that cannot be shaken, a character that cannot be bought, and a presence that cannot be denied. Prepare yourself. To understand this law is to become accountable to it. It will act as a mirror, forcing you to confront the subtle ways you have been betraying your own power, leaking your own authority, and settling for a life smaller than the one you were meant to command. The journey is not comfortable. It requires the dismantling of the convenient lies you have told yourself about why the world treats you the way it does. The truth, you will find, is a harsher and more liberating master. Therefore, the question is not how you can make others respect you. That is the question of a slave. The question is, who must you become to make respect the only logical response to your existence? The foundation of this law is not in the minds of others, but in the unwavering command you have over your own. The revelation is not about them, it is about you, and it begins now. Observe the man who does not command respect. His words are mist. He makes grand declarations of his intent, promises to himself and to others, sets ambitious goals. Yet, his actions do not follow. He is the man of tomorrow, the man of next week, the man of one day. Each broken promise, no matter how small, the commitment to wake early, to read a book, to save a certain amount, is a hairline fracture in the foundation of his character. He does not realize he is building a ruin. This disconnect between word and deed creates a life of internal dissonance. He cannot trust himself. How, then, can he expect the trust of others? He projects an image of who he wants to be, but this image is a hollow shell. People may not see the specific moments of his self-betrayal, but they feel the result. They sense the lack of gravity, the absence of a solid core. His presence is light, easily dismissed, because it is not anchored in the bedrock of integrity. The tension of this existence is a quiet agony. It is the shame of knowing you are not the man you pretend to be. It is the frustration of seeing your potential wither due to 1,000 small acts of indiscipline. You begin to seek validation from external sources, likes, compliments, approval, because you cannot generate it from within. You become a beggar for respect, blind to the fact that it is a currency you must mint yourself. Here lies the first and most fundamental expression of the silent law. Respect is the shadow cast by your integrity. It is not something you pursue, it is a consequence. It is the natural response of the world to a man who is whole, a man whose actions are in perfect alignment with his words. This law is as impersonal and as reliable as gravity. When you keep your promises to yourself, you build an internal structure of immense density, and density creates its own gravitational pull. Imagine your word is a hammer and your character is a block of iron. The undisciplined man lets his hammer lie unused. His iron remains cold, soft, and formless. The man of integrity, however, lifts his hammer every day. With every kept promise, he strikes the iron. The act is difficult. It creates heat. It requires force. But through this relentless process, he forges the soft iron into hard steel. The shape of his character becomes defined, sharp, and unbreakable. This is your first training ground. It begins not with a grand gesture, but with the smallest possible promise. Choose one thing, just one. Tomorrow I will wake up at 6 a.m. Tonight I will read 10 pages. This week I will save $20. The promise itself is insignificant. The act of keeping it is everything. You are not just performing a task. You are casting a vote for a new identity. When you keep this one promise, you do not celebrate. You simply choose another and you keep that one too. You are laying the foundation, stone by stone. You are teaching your body and your mind a new language, the language of non-negotiable commitment. You are becoming a man whose word, especially the word he gives to himself, is law. This is the source of all self-respect, and therefore all external respect. Your first challenge is to identify the site of your own ruins. In what area of your life is the gap between your words and your actions the widest? What is the one small, simple promise you can make to yourself today and keep tomorrow to begin the work of rebuilding? Confess the battleground in the comments below. The act of naming it is your first strike of the hammer. Now, observe the way people speak. Most conversations are not an exchange of ideas. They are a competition of egos. People do not listen. They wait for their turn to talk. They are desperate to prove what they know, to display their intelligence, to win the argument. Their minds are full, overflowing with their own opinions, biases, and unexamined beliefs. A full cup cannot receive anything new. This need to be seen as the expert, the one with the answers, is a profound weakness. It closes the mind to growth, to learning, to the wisdom that is available in every moment and from every person. The man who is always talking is a man who is always broadcasting. He learns nothing. He is trapped in an echo chamber of his own voice, his own knowledge, becoming more and more certain of a smaller and smaller world. He is respected by fools, but the wise see him for what he is, a prisoner of his own certainty. The internal state of the full cup is one of agitation. There is a constant need to defend, to justify, to be right. Every conversation is a potential threat to the ego. Every differing opinion is a personal attack. This creates a fragile and defensive posture toward the world. You cannot build genuine relationships or command deep respect from a state of intellectual warfare. You can only create a kingdom of one, populated by the sound of your own voice. This reveals the second expression of the silent law. Power does not reside in what you say, but in what you hear. True respect is given not to the man who knows all the answers, but to the man who asks the most powerful questions. It is given to the one who can listen with such intensity and stillness that others feel truly seen. This is the power of the empty cup. To be empty is not to be ignorant. It is to be open, to be receptive, to be a student of reality itself. Imagine a general in his tent before a great battle. A foolish general spends the night boasting of his past victories, proclaiming his own genius and ignoring the reports from his scouts. A wise general, however, spends the night in silence. He listens. He listens to the scouts, to the old veterans, to the whisper of the wind, to the doubts in his own heart. His strength comes not from the noise he makes, but from the quality of the information he is willing to receive. This is the discipline you must cultivate. In your next conversation, make it your sole objective to understand the other person's perspective without any intention of refuting it or imposing your own. Use questions as your only tool. Become a student of their mind. Bite your tongue when the urge to correct them or add your 2 cents arises. This is an exercise in ego taming. You will discover something remarkable. When you give someone the rare gift of your full, undivided attention, a space of trust and respect is created. They will tell you things they would not tell others. They will see you as wise, not because of what you said, ASP. You have said almost nothing, but because of the space you created for them. You become a mirror in which they can see their own thoughts more clearly. This is a rare and profound form of power. Your second task is to practice this active emptiness. In which of your relationships are you most guilty of being a full cup? Where does your ego most often close you off to listening? Identify this dynamic. Then, for one day, approach that person with the sole intent to listen. Report back in the comments, not what you learned about them, but what you learned about the difficulty of silencing your own mind. Consider the modern obsession with opinion. Everyone has one. They are broadcasted on social media, debated endlessly in comment sections, shouted across dinner tables. Opinions are cheap. They require no investment, no risk, no skin in the game. A man can have 1,000 perfectly articulated opinions on how a business should be run, how a body should be trained, or how a life should be lived, and still be a failure in all three. This world of pure talk creates a disconnect from reality. It allows a person to feel a sense of intelligence and superiority without ever having to test their ideas against the unforgiving feedback of the real world. This is the comfort of the spectator. He sits in the stands, criticizes the players on the field, and feels a sense of participation in the game. But he is not in the game, and the players on the field, the ones covered in sweat and dirt, have no respect for the clean, comfortable critic in the stands. The internal state of the man of opinion is one of impotence. He knows, on some deep level, that his words are weightless. This is why he is so often loud, so often aggressive in his debates. The volume of his voice is an attempt to compensate for the absence of his action. He is frustrated because the world does not conform to his well-reasoned theories, failing to understand that the world does not respond to theories. It responds to deeds. Herein lies the third expression of the silent law. Your results are your only real argument. Respect is not given for the quality of your ideas, but for the evidence of their execution. The world is a brutal and efficient judge. It does not care about your intentions, your justifications, or your eloquent explanations for failure. It looks at the scoreboard. What have you built? What have you overcome? What have you produced? Your actions are your only legitimate voice. Think of two architects. The first architect has brilliant revolutionary designs. He fills notebooks with them. He can speak for hours about his theories of structure and aesthetics, but he has never built a single thing. The second architect says very little. His designs may be simpler, less flashy, but he has a portfolio of finished buildings standing against the skyline. Which architect do you hire? Which one commands your respect? The answer is obvious. One has an opinion, the other has proof. You must therefore shift your focus from expressing yourself to building your evidence. Take one area of your life where you have a strong opinion and no results. It could be fitness, finance, a skill you wish you had. Now for the next 30 days, forbid yourself from speaking a single word about it. No more talking about your diet plan. No more discussing your investment strategy. No more announcing your intention to learn to code. Instead, you will work in silence. You will put every ounce of energy you once spent on talking into the quiet, unglamorous daily process of doing the work. You will let your actions be your only statement. At the end of the 30 days, you will have something far more valuable than a well-rehearsed opinion. You will have a result. It may be small, it may be imperfect, but it will be real, and it will be infinitely more respectable than the grandest of your previous declarations. Your third task is to choose your arena. Where have you been a spectator in your own life? In what area have your words far outpaced your actions? Name it below. Declare a 30-day moratorium on talking about it. This space will be your witness. The proof will be your only reply. Observe how the average person treats their resources, specifically their money and their time. They are squandered. Money is spent impulsively on things that provide fleeting pleasure and no long-term value. Time is poured into the bottomless pits of distraction, social media, and cheap entertainment. There is no plan, no intention, no discipline. The person is a leaky vessel, and their life force is constantly draining away. This lack of resource integrity is a symptom of a deeper problem, a lack of self-respect. If you do not respect yourself, you will not respect your time. If you do not respect yourself, you will not respect your money, which is merely a stored representation of your time and energy. How you manage your wallet and your calendar is a direct reflection of your character. A chaotic financial life is the sign of a chaotic mind. A wasted day is the sign of a life being wasted. This leads to a state of perpetual crisis and stress. The person is always behind, always struggling, always putting out fires. They feel like a victim of their circumstances, failing to see that their circumstances are the direct result of their own undisciplined choices. They complain about not having enough time or money, blind to the fact that they are actively setting fire to the very resources they claim to lack. This man cannot command respect because he is visibly out of command of himself. The fourth expression of the silent law is this: your command over yourself is demonstrated by your command over what you control. Respect is a direct response to perceived competence, and the most fundamental areas of competence are the management of your own time and money. When you demonstrate an unshakable discipline in these areas, you send a powerful silent signal to the world. Here is a person who is in control. Here is a person whose house is in order. Imagine a ship's captain. A captain who allows his crew to be drunk and disorderly, who allows the ship's supplies to be wasted, who does not have a clear course plotted on his map. This captain will command no respect and will soon lose his ship. But a captain whose ship is clean, whose crew is disciplined, whose supplies are meticulously managed, whose course is charted with precision, this captain commands respect without uttering a single word. His command of his vessel is a reflection of his command of himself. You must become this captain. Your life is your vessel. Your time and money are your most critical supplies. You must create a system for their management. A budget is not a prison. It is a map for your financial journey. A schedule is not a cage. It is the architecture for a productive life. You must track where every dollar and every hour goes, not out of obsessive scarcity, but out of profound respect for your own life energy. This practice will transform you. As you bring order to your finances and your calendar, you will bring order to your mind. The constant, low-grade anxiety of chaos will be replaced by the calm confidence of control. You will find you have more time and more money than you ever thought possible, simply because you have sealed the leaks. People will begin to treat you differently. They will trust you with more responsibility. They will seek your advice. They will respect you because you have demonstrated that you are worthy of respect by first respecting yourself. Your fourth task is to seal one leak, just one. For the next 7 days, track either your time or your money with ruthless honesty. Where is the biggest leak? What is the one expense or one distraction that is costing you the most? Identify it in the comments. The act of seeing it clearly is the first step toward reclaiming that power. Consider the man whose emotional state is for sale. A single criticism from a stranger can ruin his day. A piece of bad news can send him into a spiral of anxiety. The approval of others is the food he eats, and the disapproval of others is the poison he drinks. His inner peace is not his own. It is a hostage, held captive by the unpredictable events of the external world and the fickle opinions of other people. This emotional reactivity is the very definition of slavery. To be controlled by external events is to be a puppet on a string. The world pulls, and you dance. This man cannot be trusted in a crisis because he becomes the crisis. He cannot lead because he is perpetually led by his own untamed emotions. He cannot command respect because it is painfully obvious to everyone that he has no command over himself. He is a leaf in the wind. The internal experience of this man is a turbulent and exhausting roller coaster. He is constantly seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, a futile effort that only creates more of both. He lives in a state of heightened arousal, his nervous system worn thin by the constant ups and downs. There is no stability, no resilience, no deep, abiding sense of well-being. He is a refugee in his own life, constantly seeking shelter from the storm of his own feelings. Herein lies the fifth and perhaps most powerful expression of the silent law. The space between stimulus and response is your kingdom. True power, the kind that radiates from a person and commands silent respect, is found in emotional sovereignty. It is the ability to experience any event, any insult, any victory, any defeat, and to choose a rational, virtuous response rather than being hijacked by an automatic reaction. The size of your power is the size of that pause. Imagine a great oak tree in a storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes down, the lightning cracks. The tree is assaulted by the chaos, but it is not the chaos. It does not become the wind. Its branches may sway, but its roots hold firm. It endures. It is grounded in something deeper than the temporary violence of the weather. The undisciplined man is the leaf torn from the branch and tossed about. The Stoic is the oak. You cultivate this power through practice. You must begin to observe your own emotional reactions as if you were a scientist studying a strange creature. When you feel anger rising, you do not become anger. You say, anger is present. You create a space of observation between yourself and the emotion. You get curious. Where is it in my body? What thought triggered it? What is it asking of me? In this space of observation, you reclaim your agency. You are no longer the slave of the emotion. You are the master who decides whether its message is valid and how to act upon it. Most of the time, you will choose to do nothing, to simply let the emotion pass, like a cloud moving across the sky of your awareness. This is not suppression, it is wisdom. You are refusing to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Your fifth task is to practice the pause. The next time you feel a strong negative emotion, anger, anxiety, envy, your task is to not react for 5 minutes, just 5. You can feel it fully, but you cannot act on it. You cannot send the angry text. You cannot complain to a friend. You cannot distract yourself with food or entertainment. You must simply sit with the energy. What is the one emotion that has the most command over you? Name your tyrant in the comments below and you begin the process of dethroning it. Observe the 2 fundamental postures from which a person can approach the world. The first is that of the taker. The taker is always asking, what can I get? He approaches relationships, jobs, and situations with a focus on his own benefit. His primary concern is his own profit, his own comfort, his own advancement. He sees the world as a zero-sum game, where for him to win, someone else must lose. The taker may achieve a certain level of superficial success. He may accumulate wealth or status, but he will never command deep, lasting respect. People can sense his agenda. They feel that they are being used, that they are a means to his end. Trust in his presence is impossible. Relationships with him are transactional and fragile, lasting only as long as he is getting what he wants. He lives in a world of his own making, a lonely, suspicious, and ultimately poor world. The inner life of a taker is one of scarcity and fear. He is haunted by the belief that there is not enough to go around. He is possessive of his knowledge, his connections and his resources, lest someone else get an advantage. He is incapable of genuine joy for the success of others, as he sees it as a personal loss. His life, for all its potential accumulation, is a cramped and miserable affair. This brings us to the sixth expression of the silent law. The hand that gives is the hand that gathers. True influence and respect flow to the person who operates from a giver's frame. The giver asks a different question: what can I contribute? He approaches the world with a focus on creating value, on solving problems, on being of service. He understands that the pie is not fixed, it is expandable, and the surest way to get a larger slice is to be the one who bakes a larger pie. Think of a barren field. The taker walks into the field and scavenges for the few wild berries he can find. He eats them and moves on, leaving the field as barren as he found it. The giver walks into the same field and sees its potential. He cultivates the soil, plants seeds, and tends to the crops. The work is hard and the reward is not immediate, but eventually the field produces a harvest so abundant that it can feed him and his entire community. He did not seek to take from the field, he sought to add to it, and in doing so he received far more. You must consciously adopt this frame. In every situation, from a business meeting to a conversation with a friend, train yourself to think first of contribution. How can I add value here? How can I help the other person win? How can I leave this situation better than I found it? This is not about being a selfless martyr. It is the most intelligent and strategic long-term game you can play. When you operate from this frame, you become a magnet for opportunity and trust. People will want to work with you, to be in your orbit, because they know you are focused on mutual success. You will build an army of allies. Your reputation will precede you as a person of value. The respect you command will be deep and authentic, because it will be earned through the genuine value you have created in the lives of others. Your sixth task is to make one contribution with no expectation of return. It could be mentoring someone junior to you. It could be creating a piece of content that solves a problem for your audience. It could be as simple as making an introduction between two people who could benefit from knowing each other. What is one act of contribution you can commit to this week? Define it in the comments. The act of giving is the act of becoming. Consider the modern addiction to external validation. It is the fuel of social media, the engine of consumer culture, the silent motivation behind so much human striving. People measure their worth by metrics they do not control. The number of likes, the opinion of the crowd, the approval of their boss, the envy of their peers. Their sense of self is a reflection in 1,000 fractured mirrors, each one held by a stranger. To live by this external scorecard is to surrender your soul. You become a chameleon, changing your colors to please an ever-shifting audience. You lose touch with your own values, your own inner voice, your own definition of a life well lived. You are playing a game you can never win because the rules are constantly changing and the judges are fickle. You have achieved the ultimate form of slavery. You have given the keys to your own happiness to the mob. The internal state of this person is one of profound anxiety. There is a constant, desperate monitoring of the external world. What do they think of me? Am I doing it right? Do they like me? This frantic energy is exhausting. It leaves no room for deep work, for authentic creation, for the quiet confidence that comes from living in alignment with one's own principles. It is a life of performance, not a life of substance. Here lies the seventh and final expression of the silent law. A lion does not concern himself with the opinion of sheep. True, unshakable respect belongs to the man who lives by an inner scorecard. He is the sole judge of his own success. His metrics are not fame, wealth, or applause. His metrics are virtue, effort, and integrity. Did I act with courage today? Did I keep my promises? Did I live in accordance with my own philosophy? These are the only questions that matter. Imagine an artist. A mediocre artist creates for the market. He polls his audience, follows the trends, and produces work that is designed to be popular. He may achieve commercial success, but his work will be hollow and forgettable. A master artist creates from an inner necessity. He's obsessed with his own vision, his own standards of excellence. He's in a dialogue with his own soul. He may be misunderstood in his time, he may die in poverty, but his work will be timeless because it is authentic. He respects his art more than he desires the crowd's approval. You must begin to cultivate this inner scorecard. Define your own metrics for a successful day, a successful life. They must be entirely within your control. You cannot control whether your project succeeds, but you can control the effort you put into it. You cannot control whether people like you, but you can control whether you act with kindness and integrity. You are shifting the locus of control from the external world back to the internal one, where it belongs. When you live by this law, a profound liberation occurs. The opinions of others, whether positive or negative, lose their power. They become mere data, information to be considered but not to be obeyed. Praise does not inflate you. Criticism does not crush you. You are anchored in the certainty of your own character. You move through the world with a quiet confidence, a deep stillness that people find both intimidating and intensely magnetic. This is the respect that cannot be feigned. Your final task on this journey is to define your one metric. If you could only measure your day by one standard, one that is entirely within your control, what would it be? Was I disciplined? Was I present? Was I courageous? Was I of service? Choose your own inner scorecard. Write its one defining question in the comments below. This is the question you will now live by. We have spoken of 7 laws, but they are not laws you follow. They are laws you become. To know them is meaningless. To embody them is everything. The world is full of people who have libraries of knowledge but live in shacks of character. They can quote Seneca but cannot control their temper. They can explain economic theory but are slaves to debt. The gap between their knowledge and their action is a chasm into which all respect disappears. The great temptation, after an influx of new information, is to believe that the learning is the work. You have watched this, you have understood it, and so you feel a sense of progress. But this is an illusion. It is the shadow of the meal, not the nourishment. The real work begins when you turn this off. It begins in the silence, in the ordinary, unglamorous moments of your life. It begins with the next choice you make. The journey of embodiment is not a straight line. It is a spiral. You will practice the law of the unbroken promise and you will fail. That failure will test your emotional sovereignty. In practicing that sovereignty, you will better understand the need for an inner scorecard. In defining that scorecard, you will be forced to confront who is in your circle. Each law supports and reveals the others. They are inseparable. The final silent law is this: you are your own evidence. The respect you seek is not in the future. It is not a destination to be arrived at once you have mastered all these laws. It is present right now in the integrity of this very moment. Are you listening with an empty cup? Are you living by the laws you claim to believe? Your life, as it is being lived right now, is the only argument you have. Think of it as a frequency. Your character, your discipline, your integrity, they emit a silent, invisible frequency. People cannot see it, but they can feel it. Respect is simply the resonance of another person's perception with the frequency you are emitting. You cannot fake this frequency. You cannot talk your way into it. You can only become it. You must do the work of tuning yourself to the frequency of the person you wish to be. This is the path. It is not easy. It is a path of subtraction, of discipline, of confronting the weakest parts of yourself. But it is a path of power. It is the path of building something real in a world of illusions. It is the path of forging a character that becomes your destiny. The respect you will command will be but a quiet reflection of the man you have built in the silence. The work is not out there. It is not in the next book, the next video, the next secret. The work is in you. The obstacle is you. The power is you. The 7 laws are 7 mirrors, reflecting the one thing you must master, yourself. Now, after this entire journey, we are left with a single point. All 7 laws, all 8 blocks of this discussion converge here. What is the one single choice you can make in the next hour that embodies the person you are trying to become? Not tomorrow, not next week, in the next 60 minutes. Define that choice in the comments. The work of a lifetime is built on a foundation of a single, immediate, conscious act. Have you ever felt it? The weight of an unearned opinion, the sting of being overlooked, the quiet humiliation of having your presence dismissed as background noise. You speak, but your words evaporate. You act, but your efforts are invisible. You chase the symbols of power, the money, the titles, the possessions, believing they will buy you the one thing you truly crave, respect, but they do not. And in the silence of your own mind, you know this hollow truth. There is a currency that is not traded on any market, a power that is not bestowed by any title. It is a silent force, an invisible architecture that determines who is listened to and who is ignored. It is the law that governs the subtle currents of human interaction, the unspoken language of command. Those who understand this law move through the world differently. Their presence has gravity. Their silence speaks louder than the shouting of others. They do not ask for respect, they are the source of it. We are not here to discuss charisma, body language, or social tricks. Such things are the flimsy scaffolding around an empty building. We are here to lay the foundation. We are here to reveal the one silent law of the self that once mastered makes all other efforts unnecessary. This is not knowledge to be consumed. It is a principle to be embodied. It is the source code of a mind that cannot be shaken, a character that cannot be bought, and a presence that cannot be denied. Prepare yourself. To understand this law is to become accountable to it. It will act as a mirror, forcing you to confront the subtle ways you have been betraying your own power, leaking your own authority, and settling for a life smaller than the one you were meant to command. The journey is not comfortable. It requires the dismantling of the convenient lies you have told yourself about why the world treats you the way it does. The truth, you will find, is a harsher and more liberating master. Therefore, the question is not how you can make others respect you. That is the question of a slave. The question is, who must you become to make respect the only logical response to your existence? The foundation of this law is not in the minds of others, but in the unwavering command you have over your own. The revelation is not about them, it is about you, and it begins now.